KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
I promise you, this is not a political podcast.
Jump from the deep end of the pool, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. 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 Set up the mood.
Testicles 1-2. Testicles. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Paranoid Radio Podcast. I am Trebles Garcia, the humble host of this adventure, and I want to thank the Lord for allowing me to be here today, and I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me to enter your space. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check us out at paranoidradio.com. Paranoidradio.com. Cuff up some of the t-shirts. It has a new facelift. Make sure you drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Now, please allow me to jump in from the deep end of the pool and set the mood. Oh, yeah. I want to introduce somebody. I've been hounding this man for about almost a year and 3 months, and I've counted the months that he's actually said and agreed to be on the show. He is a superstar. He's on YouTube. He's an author of books, and he's also produced some very interesting films. I want you guys to please give a beautiful introduction to Ale Marzulli. How's it going, Ale?
It's going good, and thanks for the intro, Angel. Great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for spending the time here in our humble show. Now, I understand that you're a busy man and you have some interesting topics to go through, and I'm going to just blow it off and give you some questions, okay? Check this out. Sure. I want to give the introduction. I want people to understand where you come from and give you the opportunity to tell them where they can find you.
Well, I'm a born-again, spirit-filled Christian. I've been a Christian for 44 years. That event changed my life, and it will change your life. We're not talking religion. We're talking a relationship with the God of the universe, the creator who spoke everything into existence. It's the most important thing a person can do, because when that happens, there's a reconnection. There's a connection between that person's spirit and the spirit of the living God. And that is unfathomable. I've been doing this for 44 years, and I feel like I've just scratched the surface.
Wow. So you can actually attest and say that you learn something every day. You know, I want to send shout outs to I call him the fourth leg of Paranoid Radio Podcast, because he always tells me wherever there's one or two people speaking his name, that's mass. So we go to mass every day, every morning. We read scripture and we debate, and I hit him with what I think my understanding of logic of the Bible, and I now I'm finding out that as a conspiracy theorist, the Bible is the biggest conspiracy book of all time. It has sex, it has murder, it has backstabs, it has spies, it has monarchies, it has a beautiful story, and it happens to be true. So all glory be to God. And again, thank you again for being on the show. Marzulli, where can people find you?
LAMarzulli.com, LAMarzulli.com. There are 30 videos in our stable, 10 on the UFO phenomena. Here's just 3 of them. Roswell, What is the Truth, In the Debris Field. There are actually 10 films on the UFO series. There's 8 on the Trail of the Nephilim, the Watcher series. There's 11. We did 2 films on Fatima. So there's 30 films. You can go to streaming, like a streaming.lamarzulli.net, and for $4.99 you can watch a film. So
wow,
yeah,
that's less than the Starbucks coffee that you guys pick up on a daily basis from your Bartista.
It's exactly true. It's time for people to start doing their homework. We've done ours.
Yeah, so guys, go ahead and grab a cup of coffee and make sure you check them out at alemarzulli.net. Am I saying that right? alemarzulli.net.
Either one. We have both, but .com.
Absolutely. Also, you find them on Instagram, guys. And after this episode, when this episode publishes, you'll be able to find them on the drop-down menu of paranoidradio.com on the special guest and links. The way I met you, the one I found out about you was I was doing a deep dive on crop circles. So I have to go through pages on Instagram. And I like going through that after the 10-page Instagram, because that's when all the crazy sources start coming out. Your name popped up. I think it was one of the first ones that popped up. And I skipped over your name because I was like, okay, mainstream media is going to push me to the big first name. Boy, was I wrong. I went on YouTube And then I seen you have discussions on other shows about how you believe that mounds are Nephilim technology. Please comment on that.
There seems to be if you really look at what happened 3,500 years ago, when Joshua and Caleb go into what's known as the Promised Land, the Nephilim tribes are there, and the 12 tribes of Israel are there. Everything goes back to the seed war, Genesis 3:15. What we see is the seed of the dragon and the seed of the woman on the field of battle are about to go at it. The seed of the woman, from the seed of the woman will come the Messiah. The dragon, Satan, still doesn't know which tribe of the 12 tribes that Messiah is going to come from. And on the field of the Nephilim, the Rephaim, the Emim, the Zanzumim, the Anakim, all names for Nephilim tribes, they go at it. It's not genocide. The Nephilim are soulless. They have no soul. Angel, you have a soul, I have a soul. You have a spirit, I have a spirit. We have bodies, you have a body. I have a body, you have a body. We're spirit, soul, and body. But Nephilim, spirit and body, no soul. They are always looking for a soul and they can't get one because only God can give a soul. We have a soul. And that's what they're looking for. Genesis 3:15 is the gateway to the biblical prophetic narrative. If we don't understand Genesis 3:15, then the rest of the pages in the Bible fall flat. Let me explain. Adam and Eve have just done the unthinkable, and they are terrified. The Lord showed me this a couple of months back. They are terrified. They don't even know what's going on. They're hiding from the Lord. They've never done that. They are absolutely in a state of fear and panic and terror. They are beside themselves. They don't know what's going on. So Adam and Eve are here. The dragon, who has been whittling down Eve, who knows for how long? The Bible doesn't tell us. I don't believe it was the first time he's talking to her and she sided with him. I think it went on for a period of time. A month, a year, 50 years, we have no idea. The Bible doesn't tell us. All we know that, and she's not taken aback by the talking snake. She's not taken aback by that at all. So the unthinkable happens. Their DNA is changed. Jesus is there in the midst. And Jesus says something which I think, in my opinion, is the gateway to the rest of the biblical prophetic narrative. And I received this, I got this from my elder brother, Gary Stearman, years ago at one of the Nephilim Mounds conferences. And Gary's title was, "It's All About the Seed." So in Genesis 3:15, the pre-incarnate Jesus looks at the dragon, Satan, and goes, "Your seed, your offspring will be at war with the offspring of the woman. The one coming from the woman, the proto-evangelium, the Messiah, will crush your head, you will bruise his heel." It's the whole Bible. If we get that right, then we understand it. And if you were going to keep, you want to hear a conspiracy, if you were going to keep pastors from the one scripture that would lead them to all truth, that's the one you never let them get to. And seminaries today don't teach that. Seminaries today, oh no, you can't read the book of Enoch. Yet the book of Enoch was quoted in our book of Jude verbatim. So if Enoch's quoting it, he knows what the book of Enoch says. He's just not, well, maybe I'll get that. What was that? The book of Enoch? No, he knows it. It's in him. He's read it. I think if you were going to keep two things from people, you keep the Genesis 3:15 narrative out, you keep the book of Enoch out, Enoch 1, because Enoch 1 tells us exactly what happened in the antediluvian world. Otherwise, the flood of Noah, the God of the Old Testament, is some capricious, genocidal, maniacal, vengeful God that just wipes out everybody except for 8 people. Doesn't work that way. There's a seed war. Once we plug in the seed war, we see it in Genesis 6.
You understand. Yeah.
You understand the whole thing. You understand the whole thing.
There's a saying in Spanish, a la mujer se le llega el corazón por el oído y al hombre por el estómago, which means, I know it's a long phrase, but what it says is, in order to conquest a woman's heart, to conquer a woman's heart, it's through the ear. And how to conquer a man's heart, it's through the stomach.
Absolutely, all day long.
So what you said, I mean, it connects, right? Just wanted to throw that joke in there, but I do have a curveball question for you. If the Nephilim, let's hypothetically say that they're still around, when they pass, when they go to sleep, when they die, in quotations, right? They don't go to hell, do they? Or do they go to heaven? Do they have a place?
Yeah, the Book of Enoch, and this is why Enoch's so important. The
Mhm.
Book of Enoch tells us that the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. So what are the Nephilim? The progeny, the offspring of fallen angels and human women, creating a hybrid being known as the Nephilim. When the Nephilim are killed and they die, the spirit of that Nephilim wanders the earth. They become the demons. Demons and fallen angels are two completely different entities. Fallen angels don't need something to manifest, don't need a body to manifest. Demons do. Demons just can't show up. They
Facts.
do stuff
Oh, that
around,
makes sense.
but
Wow.
they need to inhabit either a person or an animal or an object. Fallen angels don't.
For people that are not well aware, and if you want to guide them, where can people find more of your stuff to get a more enhanced version of this?
Yeah, I mean, we have 30, 40 minutes here. There's 30 films and 14 books. Number 14 is coming out. There's a corpus of work, a body of work. It's voluminous in some ways, and it's growing. We're working on 3 other films as we speak. And I just published my 14th book. It'll come out in October, and I'm already working on the 15th one. So it's constant. It's constant movement. lamarzulli.com. You need to do you need to do your homework, folks. You really do.
Yeah.
You need to do your homework.
Yeah.
So much information. We have 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
A lot of people are so used to just being privileged and having everything spoon-fed to them. They're afraid to take 5 more seconds to go to the search bar and find the truth themselves. It only takes 5 more seconds for you to be revealed to a whole new world. And it's not a lie. It only takes 5 more seconds out of your day. Now, the original question was mounds and ancient Nephilim technologies. Do you think that these technologies are still being used against us today?
Yes and no. They've shifted. They've shifted the whole deal, and I'll get into that. The mounds, in my opinion, are Nephilim architecture. So I never answered your question. I apologize. I got down a rabbit hole and couldn't find my way out. So now that we know what the Nephilim are, when Joshua and Caleb go into the field of battle in the Promised Land, they start driving out the Nephilim tribes. We see a Western migration into Cyprus, into Gozo, into Sardinia, into Sicily, into basically the island of Majorca, into southern Spain. And I've been to Menga. I've been to all those places I've just mentioned. And finally over to Portugal, into France, and up into the UK, and over to here. We see the mound buildings, the mound builders in the Americas. And we're told that Native Americans did this with digging sticks and deer antlers. But when we actually start to deconstruct it, and we go back to what the Native Americans say, no, the mounds were here when we got here. That's what they tell us, many of the tribes. And yet that's overlooked. And what we hear is, well, the Native Americans built them. They just forgot that they had done so. So that's, and then if I say that they didn't, the other side of the aisle will call me a racist. But aren't these folks the racists by saying, no, you just forgot that you had done that? I mean, that's kind of insulting in my book. I could be, but I think that borderlines on insulting. We're going to tell you what you did or what you didn't do. Oh, you just forgot that you built them. So what is bizarre here? You get to a place like Cahokia, which is the largest mound in the Americas, 450,000 tons of earth. 450,000 tons of earth dug up, moved, and create this mound. It's a platform mound, and it goes up. I've been there like 3 or 4 times. It's right by the Mississippi. The plaza in front of it is level to within 3 or 4 inches, and it's like encompasses like over 40 acres. So how is this done? There are 10,000 mounds alone in Ohio. And this is where it becomes really complex. We have already done a film on this, but we haven't released it yet. We are in post-production. And what we drilled into was the Newark earthworks, and specifically the Octagon Mound that's there, the Octagon Mound complex. The Octagon Mound encompasses 50 acres of land. It is an unequal octagon, meaning that two of the sides are unequal. An octagon, a normal octagon in geometry, 8 equal sides. Well, the Newark octagon, it's not. 6 equal sides, but 2 of them are unequal. Then it encompasses 50 acres of land. How do you check your work? How do you even know what you're building or what you're doing? Then it's built on the 18 and a half year lunar cycle. We know this because very soon, the octagon goes into a circle. And in that circle is an elevated platform, which looks down the gateway, which connects the octagon and the circle. There's a gateway. Every 18 and a half years, the metonic cycle, the lunar cycle, where's my, oh, there it is. Every 18 and a half years in the lunar cycle, the moon comes down and sits in the gateway. It's called the lunar standstill. How would you know that the moon is on an 18 and a half year cycle? How would you know that? And if Native Americans knew that, where's the oral tradition? And moreover, if they knew that, where is something that would let us know that they knew that? But it's not there in the oral tradition. I mean, I sat down with Chief Joseph Riverwind and others, and it's just not there. And if it's not there, then it's not there. So where did this knowledge come from? The book of Enoch tells us that a fallen angel by the name of Sariel handed this information to mankind. So you go back and people will argue the actual age of the octagon. Some people give it a very early date, like maybe 1,000 years or 800 years ago. Other people, like Howard Crowhurst, push it way back, because when you push it back, all the alignments line up perfectly. So if the Native American doesn't know about the 18 and a half year cycle, and by the way, you know, the Italians, let's say the Romans, or before them, they didn't know about the 18 and a half year lunar cycle. So if you don't know, you don't know. I mean, and then all of a sudden this knowledge is just dispensed. This is advanced geometry, Angel. It's advanced geometry. And what we have discovered in our research, which we will show in this film, because it's that important, there is a connectivity between the site in America and another 3 sites in another location. There's an absolute connectivity. And how would you do this in the ancient world? What we are looking at is spherical trigonometry, which is way outside of my pay grade. I understand what we're looking at, but all I'll say is this. If you're a pilot and you are flying from Los Angeles to New York, and your flat earthers are going to go nuts over this, but when you go from Los Angeles to New York City, unless a person calculates the curve of the earth and accounts for that, if you fly like this in a straight line, you will miss New York City. You must account for the curvature of the earth. That's spherical trigonometry. That's what pilots have to do. That's what pilots know. They plot their course based on, because if you do a straight line, you're off by hundreds of miles. You've got to account for the curvature of the earth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And if you don't account for the curvature of the earth, you don't wind up there. So what we discovered was spherical trigonometry. And how do you do that thousands of years ago? Who is the prince of the power of the air? This is the dragon's fingerprints are all over this. Now that was in antiquity. Exactly. Wow. What we have now, he's changed his tactics. There's a grid system that's back, but that grid system is what we are using right now. And we built it for him. We built the grid system for him. You go back 100 years ago, and what we're doing right now would be just, well, that's impossible. That's never going to happen. But now the entire planet is covered in satellites that revolve around the earth 24/7. And there's hundreds of them doing this constantly. We are now connected in ways that humanity has never been connected before. They will use that against us at some point. And then we have another line of demarcation, another line in the sand, which is unprecedented in all of history. So when we dropped the 2 atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that was a line of demarcation. That's a line in the sand. You can't go back. Once you go over that line, it's it. We are now in the nuclear age, and we are now in the nuclear age. Well, get this, Angel. Let me turn the AC off here. Having trouble turning this off.
I am blown away.
Well, it gets better.
Blown away.
Praise the Lord. So here's the deal. With the advent of artificial intelligence, I show this clip. I show this clip in my presentations. There's a woman, she's very, very attractive lady, probably 34, 32 years old, pretty gal. And it really doesn't matter what she's talking about. She could be talking about nuclear fission, or she could be talking about recipe for eggplant parmesan. It makes no difference. And she goes on, and you look at this clip, you can't tell. And it's 100% AI fabrication, 100%. And you can't tell, and I can't tell. That's another line, Angel. That's a line in the sand, which is absolutely unprecedented in all of human history. There's an ancient scripture. It's found in Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 14. And it says this, truth, I'm sorry, it says this, that justice is held back. Justice is held back. Righteousness stands far away, stands far off. Truth is fallen to the street, and honesty cannot come in. This is where we are, because you can't tell anymore. Someone could make an AI image of Angel saying the most vile, disgusting things imaginable. And how do you say that wasn't me? How do you say that? How do you defend against that? See where this is going? Anybody can do anything. And you don't know, you and I and all of your audience, we now no longer know whether what we're seeing is real fabrication. So we have crossed into the land. We're a never land at this point. I mean, this is like, because you don't know what the truth is. I don't know what the truth is. Unless you're there, boots on the ground, you don't know.
And it would trickles down and it bleeds onto the ideal of God. It's so easier. Now it's a lot more easier for master manipulators, the 1,000 faces, the master, the author of lies, to manipulate all the information that's coming out, specifically when it's about Jesus. And you know what? It's ruined now. Everything, people say information is power, and then you don't know where information is coming from. The sources, the same sources. Like I started this episode, I went through 10 pages of Instagram to find out what the crop circles were. And I don't know what source was a real source. So I had to take bits and pieces of theories, right? And then people listen to the show and they take it. Oh yeah, well, I found this out on Paranoid Radio, and they take it as truth. But that's why we would say hashtag look it up. And I don't use it as a weapon, but guess who does use it as a weapon? The enemy. And the people, the master, the people that tell you what to eat, the people that tell you when to clock in, the people that control your time, the people that control your thoughts, your habits, your imagination, your creativity powers, the people that tell you how you're going to raise your kids and what kind of sex they're going to be, and etc. And it bleeds onto your daily life. Everything you're consuming, everything that you're producing, everything that you are is the birth of this corrupted system. And I'm not talking about political powers here. I'm talking about everything, because it's in the food, it's in the water, it's in music, it's in the entertainment industry. Everywhere. It happens, everything. It's everywhere. Yeah.
No, I completely concur. All one needs to do is look at the opening ceremony of the Olympics and realize that there is a pushback against Judeo-Christian thought.
Oh yeah.
First of all, Leonardo's painting, which is a huge mural, by the way. It's not some small little painting. Thing is huge. It's like, 29 feet by 15 feet. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And that Last Supper does not portray in any way what happened. And this is what people don't understand. So they're mocking Christianity because they're looking at Leonardo's painting as somewhat authentic, but it's not. It's, first of all, it's not a picture of what a Jewish Seder looks like, because Jesus is in the Seder. He's in the Passover meal, and he takes what's known as the afikomen, the bread, and he breaks the afikomen. He breaks the bread. Hold on, let me get it. I'm back. He breaks the bread, He breaks the bread and he says, "This is my body." And the afikomen, this was set up thousands of years before he even is on the scene. So they, in a Seder meal, the Passover meal, they would take the afikomen and they would break it in two, and they would hide one piece and keep the other piece. And then they find the piece and they bring it back together. He's buried for 3 days and then he resurrects. This is my body. He takes that afikomen and he breaks it and he says, "Broken for you." I mean, when you look at the crucifixion through the eyes of a Jewish Passover meal, it is absolutely mind-boggling. So
They're mocking Jesus
mocking Jesus.
of the mocking of Jesus, because there's a theory here. Not that my conspiratorial brain is going cuckoo crazy here, but they're Da Vinci, what's his name, Dali, all these other great artists were used and manipulated the way that the mainstream news and music and entertainment are manipulated. They were the jesters of their time, and they were the manipulators and the influencers of their time. It wasn't like Marzulli on YouTube, right? It was of their time. There were state-of-the-art people that would influence not only culture but buildings and architecture and music and the of that time entertainment, and the way that people would continue to create scripture or manipulate scripture in many ways. It's insane what you just did right now is open up another door of craziness, man. Wow.
So,
Of truth.
First of all, in that picture, it's an M. It's an M. So you got Jesus here and this figure who's next to him. This is better. So that's the M. So here's Jesus, and it creates one side of the M. And here's this other figure here. It's not John, because it's a low cut, it's a woman. Look at the picture. And it's Mary Magdalene. And there's this whole occult thing. Dan Brown talks about it, with all due respect. It's a great novel. I read it. I saw the movie too. But there's occult underpinnings in all of this, that Jesus married Mary Magdalene, and they went off to France and had children. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Did he love Mary? Absolutely, he loved Mary. But he also loved Peter, and he loved John, and all the apostles, and even Judas. But who does he appear to first? He appears to Mary. Out of all the people he could appear to first, he appears to Mary. I think there was a bond there, a very special bond, because Jesus, and this is what you never hear this in church, Jesus is fully God and fully man. He's fully God and fully man. So as a man, he appreciates Mary Magdalene's beauty. He appreciates her femininity. Is there lust there? No, because Jesus is God.
Because he's also God. Yeah. It negates
so there's no lust, nothing like that, nothing like we would, but he looks at her and he loves her. And he can't act on that as a man would. They're not going out for coffee. Nothing like that's going to happen.
He wasn't courting her.
No, but he loves her enough to appear to her first. Out of everybody he could appear to first, she's the first person. Think about this. Think about this. Jesus is in the garden and he's sweating great drops of blood. And then angels appear to him. An angel appears and comforts him. The disciples are asleep, a stone's throw away, under a tree. So who's writing this? Who's seeing the great drops of blood? Who sees the angel?
Whoa.
In my opinion, it's Mary. She knows, this is conjecture. She knows something is up. She knows. She's not sure what it is. She's heard things. I'm going to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will, be handed over, and all this stuff. In 3 days, I will, like Jonah. All this. She knows that, but she hasn't put it together. No one's put it together. No one's put it together. So the disciples are asleep. She's hiding, and I believe this is conjecture. I realize that some people go, "Oh, that's crazy." Well, where did it come from? Where? Tell me who's telling the gospel writers where this story comes from. Because if the disciples are asleep, they're not close enough to see the great drops of blood. I think it was Mary. I think she knew something was up. Who's at the foot of the cross? Mary, his mother, Mary Magdalene, and John. Everybody else is completely blown away. And you remember, how do you kill God? Think about this. Colossians says that he's the firstborn of, he is the beginning. He is the head of the body of the church. He is the head. Who is he? Jesus. He is the head of the body of the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he may be preeminent in all things. For in him the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him, through Jesus, all things were reconciled to him by the blood of his cross. I mean, it's just like mind-boggling. So how do you kill God? So the dragon, Satan, is going, well, he's going to come down. Mary, his mother, knows who he is more than anybody. She knows who he is. She's raised him. She's going, this can't possibly be the end. She doesn't get it. He dies. He dies. And then the body lays in the tomb for 3 days. That's the Shroud of Turin. That's what it looks like. Look at the scourging. It's unbelievable. There's no coming back from this. There's no coming back for the lacerations through his body. I mean, just ridiculous. It'll kill anybody. That's why he falls on the way to Calvary. He's been beaten to a pulp. There's a crown of thorns, a helmet of thorns on his head. His face is swollen. He's been beaten to a pulp. And they're still thinking that, well, maybe he's going to come down, but he doesn't. He doesn't. And when he dies, he doesn't swoon, because the Romans aren't stupid. That's where the spirit goes up and blood and water comes out. It's Billy Rubin. And that's what we see right here. There's the Billy Rubin right there. There it is.
Wow.
There's where the spear enters. And this is the blood flowing down from the arms when he's hanging on the cross. He's hanging like this, and then he goes down. He's got to breathe. It's an excruciating way to die. And so he's there, and the body lays in the tomb for 3 days. But his spirit and his soul go where? They go down to Tartarus, to the deep parts of the earth. And there are the chained angels from Genesis 6, and also afterwards. They're all there.
Wow.
And he goes, not getting out. Checkmate. Checkmate. I now have the keys to life and death and to hell itself. And now he takes all those spirits which have been in this holding tank for centuries, and he frees them up, and up they go with him. And then he goes back to the body, and there's a burst of light which creates the image on the Shroud of Turin, which looks like this. That's the image before it's photographed. And Secunda Pia in 1898 photographed the shroud. And when he had the glass plates, this is an iPhone time. This is a glass plate in a dark room. And he's doing this, and he's looking at this face. All of a sudden, the face appears on the glass plate, and he almost drops the glass plate, which means that the image on the shroud is a photographic negative. And when you take a photograph of it with a camera, not a camera that we have today, but a camera with film, this is what you get. The negative is actually a positive image. And you can't do that. They've never been able to duplicate it. And this is our next film. It's on the shroud and also on something very enigmatic called the Holy Fire.
Wow. I didn't expect this episode to go this deep. And I have so many other questions, but we also respect the time that you have donated to Paranoid Radio Podcast. And I want people to know where they can find you one more time. Ali Marzulli.
Thank you. It's lamarzulli.com. There are 30 films, 14 books, time to do your homework. We have a whole film on the Shroud of Turin. It's in our Watchers series. It'll blow your mind. Both people that we interviewed, Dame Isabel Pixick and the late Barry Schwartz, they're both dead. And they were, at one time when they were alive, world-renowned experts, and we interviewed them for that film. But there's 10 films on UFOs, which will absolutely blow your mind. We actually went to the debris field in Roswell, and that's a piece of the metal that we found buried 8 inches below the surface of the earth, right there. There's the metal. We found
the piece that they missed.
It was down 8 inches. They didn't get it all. They didn't get it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check them out. alimarzulli.com, alimarzulli.net. Also check them out on Instagram. I want to thank every single one of you, and I want to thank you for sharing this time with us, Ale. It was a pleasure having you, a humbled pleasure. And God bless you. God bless everything that you do, everything that you touch turn into wealth. And God provides you, I wish, and I pray that God provides you with much more health and takes care of you and everything, all of your projects and all of your family. And again, one more time, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to drop out a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Thank you.
Paranoid Radio.